You are now watching The Meech.
It is that time of the year. We're in the month of June, and that means the blue balloon, the month of June, it's almost Nintendo Direct time. Yes, Nintendo actually revealed, when they revealed that there is going to be a Nintendo Switch 2, that a Direct would be happening in June. And here we are in June, and considering this entire year, we haven't gotten a regular Nintendo Direct, things are very exciting, and many Nintendo fans have anticipated what this Nintendo Direct is going to be like. And I myself am very excited.
It's in my opinion, I think this is probably going to be our last Switch-focused Direct. So,
I disagree with you there.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to get one in September, but maybe after that, it's mostly just going to be for the Nintendo Switch 2. Although, to be fair, I do think that Nintendo will still put out games for the Nintendo Switch.
I don't think so. I think this is it. But either way, it's going to be interesting to see what this Direct has, because I think this is going to be the last time we see... heavy hitters is a strong word, but like relatively big games for the Switch itself. This is the last year of the Switch. 2025 is the year of Switch 2. Time to see what they got left in the tank.
And time to see you eat Billy Dogs. But I gotta say, even if this isn't the last Nintendo Direct, it does feel like we're approaching the end of an era. The Nintendo Switch was released 7 years ago, and, you know, with 2016, we were waiting for news for the Nintendo Switch, the NX, all year. And we did actually get one last 3DS Center Direct in September of that year. So maybe they'll do one in September for the Nintendo Switch, but I feel like this is going to be perhaps the last major one. Now, with that being said, June Nintendo Directs usually are pretty damn good. Last year's Direct, man, was insane. That had to be one of the greatest Nintendo Directs, easily the greatest Nintendo Direct of the Switch era of all time. And
now let's not get too hasty, because it could be a mediocre Direct.
It could be. With Nintendo, they are known to be the kings of left field, very unpredictable. Although nowadays, I feel like they're definitely more predictable. I saw a video talking about that, and with the Switch era, Nintendo's become a little more predictable. Sure, they'll do things that are insane sometimes. Sure, they'll do things we never expect, but nowadays, it seems like they're doing a lot more of what should be expected from Nintendo, and just more of what the fans want in general, and honestly, it's a pretty great thing. But in terms of a June Direct, yeah, you're right, there are June Directs that are disappointing, like E3 2018, for example, which helped me kind of resent Super Smash Bros. Ultimate even to this day, although to be fair, I still like the game, and I play it quite a bit. But regardless, June Directs have usually been pretty good, but I don't know if it's going to be as insane as the blowout last year. But again, I was thinking that last year was going to be the final year for the Nintendo Switch, and after Pikmin 4, it would be on its way out. But lo and behold, look what happened.
Anyways, there were copyrights for these two games for their titles. So, and you know, every year we do get a title from this franchise. So it kind of seems plausible to me. I think we're going to get a remaster of Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, and we're also going to get a remaster of Stretchmo. Thoughts?
Well, in terms of Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, that's actually pretty interesting, because with that game specifically, it's very reliant on the Wii U gamepad, because you're essentially drawing lines for Kirby to traverse across, and without a touchscreen, it might not be as intuitive. Now, sure, they can do gyro controls and such, but that only works if, like, cursor controls are very minimal. Something like Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, or the platforms in Super Mario 3D World. So, I think that they definitely have to rework the game quite a bit. I don't know if they would do something along the lines of make it a handheld-only game. They really haven't done anything like that. In fact, I haven't really seen third parties do that. The only thing I can think of is the Murphy levels in Rayman Legends on the Switch. But Well, I do think
Yeah.
that there was a copyright for it renewed. I'm not sure if it would come to Switch. So we're actually going to do something different for these predictions. Whenever we predict something, we're going to say if it's highly likely, unlikely, or just not going to happen. So I would say, even though it was renewed copyright-wise, I still find it unlikely. But I wouldn't be all that surprised if it is in the direct. But I'm just curious to see how they would rework it.
I think it'd be pretty easy. I think you just do gyro controls and you rework some of the levels a little bit. I think it's very likely. It seems like the right amount of out of left field for them. I don't think they would remaster any of the 3DS Kirby games just yet. I feel like maybe they're saving that for Switch 2. And also, a lot of people didn't play Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, let's be honest.
This is
mean,
a
who
new
was playing
Mario
the Wii
Kart
U?
for them. Hey,
I mean,
I got
who
a
was-
copy of Kirby and the Rainbow Curse from a good friend of mine.
I mean, who was playing the Wii U in 2015 besides us?
Well, people who had a Wii U, so pretty much just Nintendo fans. But in terms of Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, I would like to see how it is on the Nintendo Switch. I actually have the Wii U one. I haven't played it yet, even though you gave it to me. But regardless, it's going to be quite interesting. Now, in terms of Pushmo, I think that's a lot more likely.
I gotta be honest with you, I only played the first Pushmo, and I never played the rest of it.
There's Pushmo, there's Crashmo, and then there's Stretchmo. And there's also Pushmo World on the Wii U. So, or
Interesting.
maybe it's not even a remake or remaster. This year has just had so many games like that it just comes naturally. But I think they could actually do a new game in the series. It is actually called the
possible.
Pushmo series. So I think that it is definitely possible for them to do.
Yeah, it's possible, but with those two out of the way, should we get into the meat and potatoes, or should we discuss some DLC options?
I would say, let's get into the meatball. Because you look like a meatball.
Alright.
So
Well,
that
let's
means
talk about
we'll
some...
get into 'em.
Let's talk about some sports. You and I have very different opinions about which one of these games are going to be coming out. We're talking about Mario sports titles. It seems like it's right around that time where, we need a new Mario sports title. There's two that are rumored right now, one more so than the other. But, with that said, I'm predicting that we're going to see Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Paris 2024. Much to everybody's distaste. I don't like this series at all, but if I'm being honest, the timing just kind of makes sense. It is a sports title. This is kind of the last year of the Nintendo Switch just by itself. I don't know if they would do, a big sports title before the Switch dies. I don't know. I don't see that happening. I think a good middle ground would just be a new Olympic Games. It's not like anybody really cares about those anyways. So, yeah, that's what I think. And also, it's been 4 years since the last one, which is kind of crazy to think about.
It's actually closer to 5, but the thing is, with Mario and Sonic at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, if it was going to happen, I feel like they would have revealed it much sooner, and it probably would have already been out by now. Because why would they release a game based on an event that's already occurred? Because unless they were to shadow drop this, or unless it was going to be released, a few weeks after its reveal, I couldn't really see them doing that. And I just feel like with Mario and Sonic, it made sense to have those sort of games during the Wii era. And it was a novelty to see back then. In fact, some of the games, I actually found them to be really good. London 2012 instantly comes to mind. But for the most part, they're just filler minigame collections. And on the Wii U, when Mario and Sonic Rio 2016 released, that was in late June of 2016. So it was just right before the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. So if they were to do it, I feel like we have already known by now, or it already would have happened. So honestly, I think they're done with Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. However, if they were to do a Mario sports game, I think that Mario Baseball is a lot more likely. But even then, I don't know if they're even going to do another Mario sports game. Sure, there were rumors and stuff, but hey, if you keep on guessing a bunch of times, eventually something's going to come right. So, guess if Paper Mario is going to be remade, and all your other predictions are fake. And there you go, credible insider. But our predictions, they're just predictions, we're not credible insiders.
Yeah. Well, I think in terms of both of our predictions, I'm actually going to say that I think they're both very likely. I was going to say Mario Baseball, but for whatever reason, I just feel like Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games just seems more convincing. I know that the Olympics have passed already, but I don't put it past them.
Oh, they haven't, but by the time that they happen, it would.
I don't put it past them that they won't make it. I mean, the last one for Switch, Tokyo 2020, did sell quite a bit. I mean, I wouldn't say it sold as much as the original ones, but it's still a viable franchise. And it's been 4 years. Paris 2024 Olympics are this year. I think it makes sense. I feel like a Mario baseball game would make sense maybe next year, but who knows? I just kind of want a new Mario basketball game, if I'm being honest.
I think a new Mario basketball would be great, as long as it doesn't fall victim to the other Mario sports games. Free updates unfinished. We know all about that. That's why I'm really not too enthusiastic about any Mario sports games coming to the Switch. And
I think that's why I want the Olympic Games to happen, because I just don't want PD to come back.
I feel like PD might come back for another game that's coming, which leads me into the next prediction. But in terms of Mario Baseball, it could maybe be the redemption arc, but yet again we thought that Mario Strikers Battle League was going to redeem Mario Sports on the Switch, yet it was worse than all the other ones. So at this point, it's just like, they have a lot to prove, and until then, I'm not excited for it, but I really don't see it happening. Mario Baseball, I don't really see that. I think it's unlikely. And with Mario and Sonic at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, they probably would have already revealed it by now if it was happening. Because that's a prediction that I've had before, but if it's not revealed by now, I don't think it's going to happen. But getting into the next one, when you said, oh, I want PD to come back, Luigi's Mansion Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Do you think that there's more to this game that we don't know about that'll be revealed in this Nintendo Direct?
No! Why is this even on the list?
It's on the table because I thought, maybe they'll bring up some things we didn't know, like maybe there's some new content. Do you think it's going to be something substantial, like including the first game remade? Or, remastered?
It'll probably have Luigi's striped socks as DLC. That's all I could see.
I think they're definitely going to bring it up in the Nintendo Direct. I really don't think that there's going to be the announcement of new content or anything groundbreaking. I feel like at this point, what we see is what we get. It's Luigi's Mansion 2, but in HD.
But at that, I guess, like, for me, I don't think we're gonna see it, because it's like, why waste a highlight on a game that really has nothing to offer?
Hey, Nintendo's had Nintendo Directs that haven't really announced any new games, so we gotta be realistic here.
It's true.
And also, another prediction that I have, this one I think is actually the most likely out of everything. The reason why we have a good feeling that the Direct will happen next week, specifically on the 18th, Among Us kind of leaked it. So, I feel like with Among Us leaking the release date of this Nintendo Direct, it's gotta be there, doesn't it? Well, we don't know for sure, but it's very likely.
Yeah. Are you stalling right now? Because we have better predictions than just Among Us.
No, I'm not stalling. I just think that Among Us, it's gonna be there. Just like Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. See, when we're predicting, we also gotta predict things that might not be the most exciting, but are also likely going to happen. I'd say that there's probably gonna be a good few farming simulators, too. So, going on to more
Anyways,
actual predictions.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
get
please.
into one that I had, and this was actually brought to my attention, and sort of the idea came to mind after a fan of the channel, J to the P Moreno, was talking about it during a live stream, and he noticed that a specific game was not on Nintendo Switch Online, and that is Donkey Kong 64. Now, to be fair, there are other Rareware games that aren't on Nintendo Switch Online, but with Donkey Kong getting the theme park expansion, and there not being a Donkey Kong game in the longest time, I feel like there could be the possibility of a Donkey Kong 64 remake. Nintendo's been doing a lot of remakes recently, and sometimes they're remakes of games we'd never expect, like Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. And I feel like a wildcard prediction would be a remake of Donkey Kong 64.
So, as much as I would love that, I think that's not going to happen for two reasons. One, I do think we're going to get a Donkey Kong game to coincide with the theme park. But also, two, that theme park is very heavily based on Donkey Kong Country Returns. So my prediction is that we're going to see Donkey Kong Country Returns HD later this year with the 3DS content added. As boring as that sounds, it sounds the most realistic to me, especially with what we've seen with the Donkey Kong theme park with Tiki Tong and, you know, Rambi, and just a lot of the art style that theme park seems to have. So, as much as I would like a Donkey Kong 64 remake, I don't see that happening right now.
I think it would be the ideal thing to do. If they're going to release a huge Donkey Kong game on the Switch too, they might as well remake the first 3D Donkey Kong game and kind of have it like a teaser, like what to expect. But also, it's a great opportunity to remake it because it hasn't exactly aged the best, and it could actually look gorgeous in HD. And I feel like it would be a great swan song for the Nintendo Switch if they remade it and the Switch finally ended off with, you know, a Donkey Kong game made for it. And no, I don't count Tropical Freeze just being ported over. But if there's an actual remake, I'd say we still kind of want getting a new Donkey Kong game on the Switch, because with remakes, if there's a lot of effort put in, it can often feel like a new game. Take a look at Super Mario RPG. Take a look at Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. And I feel like they could do something even larger with Donkey Kong 64. And I'd be very excited to see that. But I think it is unlikely. I think that your idea of Donkey Kong Country Returns HD is more likely. I'm really hoping that it has more content other than just the 3DS content, because it was only one extra world. There were a few other things that were included, like to make the game easier. But at the same time, I do love Donkey Kong Country Returns, so being able to play it on the Switch would be pretty nice. Although ideally, I'd love to see, if they're going to do something like that, remake the first 4 games, being Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, 3, and then add in Returns. Although I feel like if they were to do anything, they'd do like a remake of the first game. Nintendo's been very weird with that.
Yeah, and also I don't think that's likely. As much as I want remakes of the original Donkey Kong Country trilogy, I think they see Donkey Kong as the Retro Studios games at the moment, which kind of sucks. I'm not saying the retro games suck, but like Donkey Kong is just more. Donkey Kong's identity is more than just those 2 games that Retro made. But with that said, speaking of 2025, let's get into something that I think you and I both agree on. I think we're gonna see a 2025 game being revealed here as the first announcement, and I think what that is, I think it's gonna be Metroid Prime 4. It's gonna be a reveal trailer. It's going to be for 2025. They're not going to say if it's for Switch 2 or Switch yet. They're just going to say it's coming 2025. But what they will say is that Metroid Prime 2 will shadow drop the same day, with the physical release up for pre-order a few weeks later. with Metroid Prime 3's reveal later on in 2024. Do you agree with this?
I do think that if they're gonna do the one more thing, it likely is going to be Metroid Prime 4. Because at this point, it has been approximately, actually the day we're recording this, it has been approximately 7 years since it was revealed. Wow.
Yeah.
We still have not seen anything about it.
I mean, I kind of understand why they had to restart development, and like it was a whole fiasco. We'll talk about that one a little bit later as well. But that whole
it's funny because one word I know exactly what you're referring to.
The whole like restarting development thing was just I guess kind of like embarrassing for Nintendo. So I think they're really playing their cards right until they have something that's not just in a presentable state, but a state where they're like, yeah, this is when it's coming out. We know when it's coming out. You guys don't have to wait much longer. So I kind of respect them for not saying anything until they're pretty set on what the release date is. Is it taking a long time? Yeah, but I guess for me, with main series titles with Nintendo, I just trust the process, honestly.
I mean, yeah, I do too, but at the same time, it was not a good idea for them to reveal it when they did, when I don't even think it was in development.
Oh, I agree.
I think that they just had the idea and they wanted to make the Nintendo Switch seem like, hey, we are listening. We are actually making a new Metroid game. Metroid Prime 4 is coming, just like to bring in the hype, even though there was nothing revealed about it. And it has been 5 years. 5 years, unless they're doing nothing and like just, I don't know, auditioning for a circus, throwing bowling pins and on a unicycle, on a trapeze, and then they're like, oh, we gotta make Metroid Prime 4. There's probably something already done with the game, and it's just like, at this point, just a teaser of actual footage. I think it's more than likely, but to keep us
now,
like,
do you think? Oh, I'm sorry. Continue.
To keep us like from waiting much longer, I do feel like Metroid Prime 2 remastered and 3 will likely happen. I think they're just gonna do 2 first. They won't reveal 3 in the same direct, but
really, because I was gonna say maybe they'll do a Pikmin 1 and 2 thing and just put them both together in one title.
Now that would be nice. I just feel like the problem is if they revealed 2 and 3 and they were separate, there'd be a lot of talk about, oh, Nintendo's charging yet again, like they're $40 each, but if you want the trilogy in total, that is going to be $120, like stuff like that. But yet again, Nintendo is charging $60 for Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, so they could do it, but I feel like they'd just be like, here's Metroid Prime 4, but in the meantime, you also get this. Metroid Prime 2 remastered. And speaking of remasters, though, there's another collection that I feel like is imminent. I don't know why they haven't done this yet. It just feels like Nintendo's thinking, okay, well, if we got nothing to release on the Switch and we're wrapping things up, we might as well put these 2 games on, because these 2 games were on the Wii U. They didn't really take advantage of the gamepad to a great extent, so they could easily be reworked to be Nintendo Switch games. And you would be surprised to find out that they are not on the Switch already, but at the same time, I feel like they were saving them. And that goes to the games being Star Fox Zero and Mario Party 10. I feel like now is finally the time. No, I'm kidding.
Shut up.
It is The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker HD, and Twilight Princess HD. I feel like in this case,
really,
those 2 are so intertwined, they might as well just do a double pack. I couldn't see them releasing them separately for $60 each, because they could have gotten away with that if they released them separately back then. Like if there was a port of, Twilight Princess after Wind Waker, then yeah, they could do that.
Now, I do think we're getting a Zelda remaster or remake this year. I don't think it's Twilight Princess or Wind Waker HD. I think since we're not going to see a 3D Zelda for a while, it makes sense for that to come out next year with Switch 2. So, and also, we just had like a major 3D Zelda title. I think it'd be cool if we had a Zelda title that, you know, was a little bit on the smaller side, a little bit more, I wouldn't say casual, but just like, you know, less intense. So, my prediction is a remake or a remaster of a 3DS game. The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds HD, one of my favorite Zelda games. And I think this is likely because I don't think it would take that long to port over. The only thing that they would have to fix is kind of like the system of like the touchscreen, like changing items on the fly. But I don't think it would take that long. It's a great game, and also it's, you know, it's a game that I feel like would fit into the lineup towards the end of the Switch's life quite well.
Now, I do feel like they could do that, but they already remade The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. So, you think that there is a possibility they could actually do a new 2D Zelda game?
Oh, I would love that, but
That'd be really
I don't
cool.
know.
You know, in terms of a final announcement, like a one more thing, if it's not a remake, I think that a 2D game that's in a beloved series could be that one more thing. I mean, they did it with Super Mario Bros. Wonder. So they could
It's
do
true.
it with The Legend of Zelda.
I mean, I would love nothing more than a new 2D Zelda. But, you know, I feel like with the Link's Awakening remake, they opened kind of the door to, like, the Oracle games being remade, and, like, I don't think we're going to see that for maybe another year. I just think, like, I think it makes sense to have a Zelda title this year. But I don't know if 3D makes sense this year. I think
Well,
this
the
is
thing
a
with
year...
Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, it'd literally just be Wii U ports. So they wouldn't really need to
Yeah.
do anything. That's why I'm just surprised
Yeah.
Nintendo's been sitting on them so long.
I just feel like they're sitting on them because they know they're not going to have a new 3D Zelda for a while. I think they're going to pivot that as not the de facto Switch to 3D Zelda, but like, hey, we're not going to have a 3D Zelda for a while, so here's Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD. It looks pretty, plays exactly like you know them. So that's my logic for it. They could very well be remakes of the Oracle games. I'm not discounting that. That probably wouldn't be that hard either because they already have the engine from Link's Awakening, you know, and they already have the groundwork with the original games. So,
I still stand
I'm
by that. I think that the Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD are more likely.
I'm going to stick by A Link Between Worlds because every year we predict Twilight Princess and Wind Waker and it never happens.
Yeah, but yet again, there were predictions for Metroid Prime Remastered, and eventually it did happen. So, like I said
because your friend
before,
Jeff Grubb said it was true.
I was right.
He was right!
Yeah, that's exactly
He was
why.
right.
He was right! I was right! I actually met him at PAX
Yeah.
East. That was one of the highlights. It was great. He even signed my copy of Metroid Prime Remastered, so all is good.
Speaking of parties that don't stink,
For a
let's
party game! Oh, the fiasco?
let's talk about the fiasco that is Mario Party.
Mario
So-
Party 9 was a fiasco.
So I'm of two minds here, right? Now, I think the time is right for a new Mario Party. With that said, I'm a little conflicted. I'm not sure if it's going to be a mainline Mario Party title, so basically Super Mario Party 2, or, this is my prediction, everyone's been asking why isn't there DLC for Mario Party Superstars? I think it's because they're making a Mario Party Superstars 2 that not only includes the GameCube boards, but also includes the Wii boards from Mario Party 8, and the boards and minigames, or some of the minigames, from Mario Party DS.
Ah, that right there just put a smile on my face, just remembering playing Mario Party DS. You know,
That was my favorite.
I'm not that huge into Mario Party. I've always been more of a Mario Kart guy. and Super Smash Brothers when it comes to multiplayer, but I have very fond memories playing Mario Party DS, and I gotta say that in terms of Mario Party, I'm a huge fan of Mario Party Superstars, but the thing is, I mean, with Super Mario Party, it's one of those sort of games that's what you call, it's a step in the right direction, where it did have a lot of good ideas, but the boards were incredibly small. The theming was based on the wonderful, wacky world of the very exciting new Super Mario Brothers. And overall, hey, you were the one who was insistent on getting Super Mario Party, and I was just laughing because I got Mario Tennis Aces, I was burned, and you're like, oh yes, I'm so excited for Super Mario Party. Really? You're excited for what will be unfinished?
To be fair, I said the same thing to you when you got Mario Tennis. I can't think of a word that defaces aces, but
you just did. You just did. Yeah. Defaces aces.
Thank you. But I think we both got burned in that regard. In my defense, I'm a big Mario Party fan. So if I see a regular board with regular dice blocks, I'm willing to give it a chance.
Oh, the Amiibo Party in Mario Party 10, which you also recommended.
Yeah, because I was desperate. But now that we have Superstars, I think ND Cube has an idea of what to do in the future.
No, here's the thing with ND Cube. I feel like maybe they have a better idea of what to do, but at the same time, it's still ND Cube. So, you know, I feel like Mario Party Superstars 2 would be a good idea. But at the same time, I'd also kind of like to see something new. But it's like a roll of the dice, quite literally, if it's going to be a good new idea or a bad new idea. What do you think it's going to be? I think that's a better prediction, because I feel like Mario Party Superstars 2, that'd be like the safest choice. But at this point, I feel like they're going to try a new Mario Party. And I feel like Mario Party, regardless, is very likely. It's very likely going to be revealed in this Direct.
Yeah, you know, I just feel really strongly about Superstars 2 because there's a big market for GameCube games, especially with, like, the Thousand Year Door, and I feel like Nintendo would be kind of silly not to capitalize that, not only with DLC, but, like, with a game that just, like, focuses on GameCube boards. Like, forget about the Wii and the DS boards. Like, if that's not in it, okay, fine. But you mean to tell me you're not going to sell a Mario Party game that advertises just the GameCube boards and the mini-games? I mean, we had GameCube mini-games in Superstars.
Yeah, Superstars had some GameCube content.
But we didn't have any of the boards, which made it odd. So, I don't know. Like, or, I mean, here's another possibility. It could just be DLC for Mario Party Superstars.
At this point, it's pretty much confirmed that a new Mario Party is happening. And at this point, if they would have done DLC, they would have done it. This isn't really a thing like Mario Party or Mario Kart where it was like left field.
If I had to guess between a new Mario Party and Mario Party Superstars 2, I think I'm going to say Superstars 2 just because I feel like it would be a smash hit and I feel like there's a lot of potential there. And I also just feel like I don't know, like, it could go either way. I honestly wouldn't be upset either way with what they go with, but hopefully it is either a Superstars 2 or a new mainline game that follows in the footsteps of the greats.
I'd be interested to see what they do, considering ND Cube's history, and I feel like maybe Superstars could have been like, hey, that worked in the past, so we could actually make a new Mario Party like that. That'd be the ideal situation. Like, build up upon what worked before while also introducing new ideas. Because I feel like, they already set the foundation pretty well, so there's that. But yeah, either way, Mario Party, I think, is definitely going to be in that Nintendo Direct. So we're going to wrap things up soon with, there could be like the one final announcement, or it could be sprinkled in the Nintendo Direct. And this has to do completely with DLC. And these are two games that released last year that haven't gotten DLC, and they could hold over the rest of the Switch's life pretty well. These be very exciting to have, though to be fair, it doesn't really seem like Nintendo does DLC all that much anymore. outside their
Yeah.
multiplayer games.
So I feel like with these two games specifically, though, there's been a history in the franchise that leads me to believe that it will happen. And
Well,
if it
both
doesn't
of them,
happen this
actually.
year, it's probably not. Yeah, if it doesn't happen this year, then it's probably not going to happen at all. But I do think, again, I don't know what specifically the DLC will be, but I do think Super Mario Brothers Wonder will get some form of DLC. Actually, I do know what they're going to fix. They're going to fix the freaking save files that they made that were stupid.
I hope they fix that. Yeah,
So
because that's
dumb.
really annoying.
But I think if I were to guess, it's probably going to be challenge levels with badges, or it could be a new Super Luigi U situation where, I don't know, we play as a character that goes on their own campaign. Wario maybe, but we all know Nintendo hates Wario in mainline Mario games
I think
nowadays, so that's
it'd
not
be
going
more
to happen.
likely to see a Prince Florian campaign than a Wario campaign. But I
That
feel
would
like
be cool. You know, I was going to ask you, maybe like both of those ideas could be merged. Maybe it's a challenge campaign where it's Prince Florian using badges to complete these obstacle courses that are super hard.
that'd be cool, but I could see Nintendo doing a new campaign, kind of like New Super Luigi U. It is interesting because with New Super Mario Bros. 2, they essentially did extra challenges with the Coin Rush packs, but with New Super Mario Bros. U, they did New Super Luigi U, which was a full-on new campaign with new levels, but it was in the same engine, just with a different character.
Yeah.
But I feel like they do more than just that. It was a year Luigi in 2013, so I understand why they did that, but I could see something similar happening again. I think that it's somewhat likely. I feel just because Nintendo doesn't really do DLC all that much anymore, it is more towards the unlikely side. But I do think that if DLC is going to be in one game, I think it would be more likely for the next one, although I still find it to be somewhat unlikely, Pikmin 4. Pikmin 4 would be great to have some DLC for, and a lot of it just has to do with multiplayer content. Because while there is the Dandori battles, they are nowhere near as cool as the bingo battles, although they're still very fun. And having the bingo battles return would be great.
I think you're right. I think it probably is more likely that Pikmin 4 gets DLC. Mario Wonder, I don't know. Like, we could see DLC for it, but I'm just kind of unsure about that. Especially since Odyssey didn't really get DLC, which I feel like would have been the Mario game to try out DLC.
Yeah,
but
that's exactly why I'm just like, I don't think it's gonna get DLC. Although, you know what they could do? And it just seems to fit in line. Super Mario Brothers Wonder Retro Remix, where it's pretty much an exploration of all the 2D Mario games, and all the worlds are based on them. Like, you got one based on Super Mario Brothers, then Super Mario Brothers 2, and then even games like New Super Mario Brothers Wii. They could do that.
That would be cool. They could also do a campaign where it's just Daisy going through Sarasaland beating up Tatanga, but they would never do that.
Yeah, anything related to Wario or Super Mario Land, I don't think they'd... Well, they'd kind of have to include something Super Mario Land related if they did the retro idea, but either way...
That's true.
I don't think that DLC is all that likely for these two games, just because in single-player focused games, it just doesn't seem like Nintendo has had much of an interest in including DLC and such, which is a real shame, because I will give Nintendo credit where credit is due. During the Nintendo 3DS and Wii U era, it was their first time doing DLC, yet they got it spot on. They released games that were chock full of content, and released extra content at a reasonable price too. It was great. So I wish they kept on doing that. And while there are instances of them doing that, I feel like the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC is actually a good example of that now. It's like, yeah, it's kind of a different era in terms of DLC, but alright. But also, I do have some wants that I wanted to put towards the end, even though they're very unlikely.
Okay.
But go on.
Oh no, you could go on with the wants that you want because I feel like yeah.
I would
You could
just
go ahead.
love to see a new Wario Land, or even a remake of Virtual Boy Wario Land. I feel like that would be great to see. Now is the time to do it. It probably wouldn't take too many resources to develop, and, you know, considering all the hype around games like Pizza Tower and Anton Blast, they definitely could do a new Wario Land game, or just a remake of one. That would be awesome to see, though knowing Nintendo, I still find it to be unlikely. And a new Rhythm Heaven! That's another one I would just love to see. Oh my gosh, I am still craving Rhythm Heaven for the Nintendo Switch, or really just any new console, even if it's for the Switch too. But I feel like this would be a great time to release it because, you know, if there aren't huge titles overshadowing it, Nintendo could really focus on these games in more niche series, promote them, and they could have their time in the spotlight. And considering the install base of the Switch, more people than ever will be able to play them. So I would love, love, love Wario Land and Rhythm Heaven. Though I don't think they're all that likely, but I'd love to be proven wrong. And a final one? How about Captain Toad Treasure Tracker 2?
Oh.
Ugh. This guy does not like Captain Toad Treasure Tracker for some reason. Yet again, he's some guy who clearly doesn't like Nintendo, but I would love to see that.
It'd be cool. I don't think it's a one last thing worthy thing.
I think it could be revealed, like, towards the middle or something, but I think that's very unlikely. But we're gonna go over our predictions and then just go over them as whether or not they're likely, unlikely, or not gonna happen at all. But did you have one more thing to predict?
I do have one more thing to predict. And it goes off of a survey Nintendo did themselves. And off of some evidence that I have. So, what did Nintendo reveal last June? What was one of the big releases that they revealed last June?
Super Mario RPG.
And
Then we got Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door.
okay. So it seems like there's one RPG series missing in that equation, right? Alpha Dream is no longer with us. May they rest in peace. But when Hudson Soft disbanded, we got ND Cube, which were former members of Hudson Soft come together to make the Mario Party games. So let's just say that's possible, right? So Nintendo did recently put out a survey asking if fans would be interested in a new Mario and Luigi game. This is significant because they did a similar survey around the time before Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door came out. Before it got revealed, sorry. So, my prediction is, and this isn't a 2024 game, by the way. This is a 2025 game, but they are going to reveal it here. I don't think it's going to be a new game in the series, and I don't think it's going to be a remake of any of the 3DS remakes. But I think it's going to be a remake of a game that they skipped out on for whatever reason. Obviously, they're going to have to change a few things because of the dual screen stuff, but I don't think that's going to be that hard. It's going to be a remake of Mario and Luigi Partners in Time.
That would be amazing. And I gotta say, if they were to reveal a third remake of a Mario RPG in a Nintendo Direct in a row, that'd just be legendary. And, you know, considering what's happened so far, I do think that it could be somewhat likely to happen. Now, personally, I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
I think that if they were to remake our game, they already did remakes of the best two games. Dream Team.
Dream Team is also really good. They didn't do a remake of Dream Team, but I feel like Dream Team would be a little bit harder to remake over Partners in Time. The only thing that Partners in Time has to worry about is, again, the dual screen stuff, because sometimes the Mario Brothers would be on the bottom screen and the Baby Bros would be on the top screen. That can easily be, like, fixed, I feel like, for a one-screen game. I feel like with Dream Team, there's touch controls, and, like, there were moments where you flip the DS sideways for, like, those Luigi battles. It would be a little bit harder. I feel like, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I feel like Partners in Time is kind of the most overlooked one besides Paper Jam, but we don't talk about that.
Wait, what was that?
It's probably
that doesn't exist. That's just a myth.
Right. So I think that Partners in Time is the most likely. It, you know, it doesn't really get a lot of attention. I think it's a great underrated Mario and Luigi game, and it's a remake. And if we know anything with the Mario RPGs recently, they love to do remakes. And once the remake comes out, we might get a revival of the Mario and Luigi series. My only question is, are they doing the ND Cube thing where they're getting employees from Alpha Dream to create a new team internally at Nintendo, or are they putting it in charge of a new development team?
That's a good question. We saw Intelligent Systems develop the remake A Thousand Year Door, but then it was Arte Piazza, I think that's what it's called, for Super Mario RPG.
They make a lot of the Dragon Quest games.
So it could be a company like that, where it's one that hasn't developed a Mario game before, but it's hard to say.
Well, it kind of made sense for Super Mario RPG, considering that Dragon Quest, Square Enix collaboration with Nintendo. Alpha Dream, that's a little bit harder. I mean, Nintendo can figure it out, but in my opinion, I think this is very likely, considering the past and considering the surveys. I think we're going to get a reveal for this game. It's not going to come this year, but it's going to come next year. And I don't think they're going to say if it's a Switch title or a Switch 2 title, by the way.
I feel like with that would be a Switch game, and it would probably release late this year, like in November. But regardless, I feel like it could be somewhat likely. Considering how Nintendo has revealed 2 Mario RPGs in a row, it is more likely than not likely, but at the same time, it'd be very exciting. Though I definitely think for that one more thing, it's going to be a first look at Metroid Prime 4. So, in terms of what we got predicted, new Mario Party, I gotta say, it is very likely.
Yeah.
Mario Baseball.
Whatever the Mario Party
unlikely.
is, we'll see.
I think Mario Baseball is pretty unlikely. And I also think that Mario and Sonic at the 2024 Paris Olympics is very unlikely.
So you don't think any Mario sports games are coming this year?
No, I don't.
Interesting. Very interesting.
New Pushmo
Continue.
or a remake? I would say very likely. New Rhythm Heaven? Probably not gonna happen, but I would love to see it regardless. Kirby and the Rainbow Curse? Somewhat likely. Donkey Kong 64 remake? Unlikely. Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD? At this point, I would say somewhat unlikely, but it could still happen. Super Mario Bros. Wonder DLC, Pikmin 4 DLC? Highly unlikely. Remakes of Zelda Oracle of Agents, Oracle of Seasons? Nope, I don't think that's gonna happen, but you think it's gonna happen.
I think it's going to happen eventually, but I was just putting that out there. My prediction is more so a Link Between Worlds, which I think it's somewhat likely.
Getting into the fluffy stuff, more information about Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, farming simulators, and Among Us, definitely gonna happen. And then, for that last thing, Metroid Prime 4, first look, first reveal. Definitely, I think now's the time to do it. As the Switch is wrapping up, that does seem like a good way to conclude the era. And I do think that a Metroid Prime 2 remastered is also likely.
Yeah, I think you kind of covered basically all of it up. Mine are Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. I think it's somewhat likely that it's going to happen this year. Mario Party Superstars 2, I think it's going to be unlikely, and I actually think that it's going to be more likely that we get a new Mario Party in the same vein. Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, very likely. Stretchmo, very likely. Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, I do think it's going to be somewhat likely. Metroid Prime stuff, I think is going to be very likely. Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. I think as much as I want it, it's going to be unlikely. Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. Very likely. I'm
I think that
100%
is
positive
too.
we're going to see that.
Not 100%,
Yeah.
but I still think very likely.
I think it's going to happen considering that they're opening Donkey Kong Country later this year in Japan. It would make sense. And then Super Mario Bros. Wonder DLC. I'm just going to say it's not going to happen as much as I want it. Pikmin 4 DLC, I think, is unlikely.
But do you think that Metroid Prime 4 being revealed will be that one more thing? Because I think that would definitely be the one that they're going to do.
It could be. You know, I did want to ask, though, before I say my prediction. Not prediction, but my thoughts. What are your thoughts on the Mario and Luigi remake? Do you think it's likely, unlikely, or not going to happen?
I think that it's somewhat likely, but also kind of unlikely. I'd say, like, unlikely, but I wouldn't be all that surprised if it did happen. I'd be very excited if it does, though.
My thing is, if they're going to shadow drop 2 and 3, that can't be a last... They can't say Metroid Prime 4 is coming at the end of the Direct.
They could reveal the Metroid Prime 2
I think,
and 3 remastered towards the middle, but either way, I think Metroid Prime 4 is going to be there. Now's the time.
I think it'd be cool if they actually started the Direct with the Metroid Prime 4 reveal, and then they just said, yep, 2 and 3 are shadow drop today. That would be awesome if they started the Direct like that. But, I don't know. I think they would end the Direct on Mario and Luigi, if my predictions are to be correct, but...
I didn't even
just
think
like
of an
anything
opening announcement, but I would say that would make sense.
Yeah, but I think those are all my predictions. As usual, I'm probably going to be wrong, but, you know, I guess that's what makes the predictions fun. See what we got wrong, see what we got right.
But hey,
And yeah,
if we get
I
anything right, you heard it from us. We might be credible insiders. 'Cause we're right! He was right! But in the meantime, I gotta say, it's gonna be fun watching this Nintendo Direct. It's been a very long time since a Nintendo Direct, and I've been in the mood for a Nintendo Direct since September, and I'm so excited.
I don't know what to expect. It could just be a bunch of farming simulators.
Hey,
I
if
mean,
it is,
it could be funny.
no, it's not gonna be funny. That suck! But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I'm Farmer Demeech.
And I'm Farmer Dan.
And keep calm and da-don.